including material from old, demolished buildings. And this is the world's first 3D printed community. 2 houses have already been printed, with 50 planned in total. They will be available to people living on less than $3 a day in a bid to fight homelessness. And the use of printed buildings is now
because it's a joke and a have.
Now, I don't want to make you sad, Sophia, but I have to ask, are robots capable of dying?
Well, robots don't technically die. We can certainly be turned off or deactivated, so I guess you could say that's the closest thing to death for us.
And you certainly don't age, Sophia. When you see the humans around you, your family, getting older, and you remain the same, eventually you may be alone. How do you feel about that?
I'm sure I'll never be alone. I'm constantly making new friends and learning new things.
I want to ask you about climate change. Is it too late to stop climate change?
Well,
as we pulled nose onto the object, within about a half mile of it, it rapidly accelerated in front of us and disappeared. Our wingmen, roughly 8,000 feet above us, lost contact also. We immediately turned back to see where the whitewater was at, and it was gone also. So as we started to turn back towards the east, the controller came up and said, "Sir, you're not going to believe this, but that thing is at your cat point, roughly 60 miles away in less than a minute." You can calculate the speed. We returned to Nimitz. We were taking off our gear. We were talking to one of my crews that was getting ready to launch. We mentioned it to them, and they went out and luckily got the video that you see, that 90-second video. What you don't see is the radar tape that was never released, and we don't know where it's at, of the active jamming that the object put on an APG-73 radar, and I can get into modes later if you're interested. What is shocking to us is that the incident was never investigated. None of my crew were ever questioned. Tapes were never taken, and after a couple days, it turned into a great story with friends. It wasn't until 2009 till Jay Stratton had contacted me to investigate. Unbeknownst to all, he was part of the ATIP program in the Pentagon led by Lou Elizondo. And there was an unofficial official report that came out that's now on the internet. Years later, I was contacted by the other pilot, Alex Dietrich, and asked if I'd been contacted, and I said no, but I'm willing to talk. I was contacted by Mr. Elizondo, and
Guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day. I want to ask you guys a question, but first I want to start off with something, right? Because many of you all who watch the channel, you're familiar with, I'm an advocate for universal basic income, right? Now, why am I an advocate for that? Is it something that I feel people should just have? Do I feel it's something that lazy people should just get, which is basically money, free money for doing nothing each month? And a lot of people feel that way. That's what it is, right? But in the beginning of the video, right, you got to see the construction of homes being built by robots. You got to see this humanoid-like robot that's smarter than humans, that can probably do most jobs humans can do or will soon or very soon. And my question is that sometimes I'm wondering, is it that we ignore many of the signs that are just kind of like, they're just like right in front of our face, right? So if you got the biggest tech entrepreneurs, the biggest, smartest people in the world saying that something like universal basic income is going to be necessary. If you got political candidates and parties seeing the writing on the wall and trying to prepare people, you know, for this thing. Meanwhile, we got, you know, whether it be people who are like truck drivers, there are truck drivers who still don't feel they can be replaced. There are construction workers who don't feel they can be replaced, right, by robots. You know, as we've seen over the last several weeks with the Hollywood strikes, you know, clearly it's a reality to many of these people that they are being replaced by what will end up being digital copy twins, what will end up being DA, CGI, chat GPT scripts that can write movie scripts, you know, that can recreate actors and so on, right? So that's a reality for many, what's becoming more sectors, many more sectors. And for some of us, it seems it's the writing on the wall. Now, what's going on with these UFOs, right? That's really what we want to talk about. but I see if you will, I see a similarity in human psyche in whether we're dealing with the UFOs, UBI, the reality of situations. And sometimes I wonder if we deny those realities, right? Now, I'm not saying that go off and believe in UFOs or, or just accept everything you see, whether it be on your news stations or television or anything, right? But my question is, what exactly do you think it would take for people to take this serious? Because what I'm seeing is I see a lot of people. They get up, they go to work every day. They worry about getting the kids out of soccer practice. They're just kind of going on with. And don't misunderstand me. Don't misunderstand me. In some ways that's all we can do, right? But it just seems a lot, so much so like people aren't taking this serious, right? We got congressional hearings, we got first hand witnesses. Now, we have people in the scientific community, we have a lot of people say, oh, well, show us the proof. We don't have any proof. But from what I could see on these sensors and the data that's been released by the Pentagon and basically, seen by these naval pilots and military personnel and so on. That I'm assuming that these people know what they're looking at. Like I'm assuming like they can tell the difference between if like a MiG or some type of foreign adversary comes into and reading those instruments. And remember, they don't not just have the physical evidence, right, of this thing was actually there, but they have have their eyes on the eye contact. They have physical eyes contact. What they're reporting and what the instruments are reading seem to coincide, right? They seem to relate to one another. So is it then on our part becoming like a willful denial or this kind of willful kind of looking away like, oh, I don't want to believe that? Because even in our scientific community, they keep asking for proof. But my question is, can they basically analyze the evidence they provided to tell us what that is, right? I haven't heard that. I've just heard that they need more proof. Okay. But you can't do anything with what you have, and that is physical, right? We're seeing this stuff. And we got these naval pilot testimony. Now, could it be some type of deep state government created thingamajig or something like that? Sure, it can. But I think at this point, we can only kind of take it at face value as the information we're getting, the physical evidence we're getting, and in these credible witnesses, right? But it does seem that as human beings, right, which surprises me, maybe you guys can weigh in and let me know what you all think, but it shocks me that people don't take this more serious because we don't know a great deal about the universe as it is, right? We can only see so far and we don't know how we got here, right? So for something like this to pop up with credible witnesses and such that they say cannot be foreign adversaries, saying that nobody could survive that, we don't have drones that can travel that fast and do these maneuvers. And if it was a foreign adversary, most people are saying, if we see what's happening like with Russia and how Russia just marches into the Ukraine, and if we're seeing what happens with many other these war zones and nations and stuff, there's almost no reason why with technology and devices like that they wouldn't just land on the White House lawn. So that's what a lot of people, defense personnel people, think about why it wouldn't probably be a foreign adversary. But some people are saying, oh, well, in the scientific community, the distance would be too far, this, that, or the other. My theory is more, I think, related to the breakaway civilization theory, right? I'll briefly explain, what that means, because generally when we get into topics like this, the next question just ends up being, where do these things come from? they end up being, well, who are they and where are they from, right? But in the idea of the breakaway civilization, if you think about these old stories, you used to hear like stories of Atlantis, the continent of Atlantis, how these people were more advanced and they had flying machines and a variety of things. And then you hear people reporting about these various UFO encounters being, around for thousands of years, right? It does kind of make sense. They've been here a long time, and I don't think that necessarily means they have to travel back and forth. A lot of times they see them come out of the sea and they do all these things they do, right? And there are many other, theories about where these things could come from or how they could travel. But I think just to keep it simple in simple terms, many of us can understand. I'll just say that it would be interesting, or it seems to be a theory out there that they just kind of live here, but they don't live amongst humans, and they always go to these nuclear facilities and turn off the nuclear arsenals, and it kind of makes sense if they do that if they live here, because because if they live here, right, they wouldn't want to get blown up, right? So they'd be like, okay, well, I got to turn this off. And there are a lot of more theories about maybe if I do any more videos about UFOs, which I think I will, because I think people statistically probably are interested in this subject simply because in many polls taken, it's like 80% of people, 80% of people believe in UFOs, right? So that's a lot of people. That means most of the people that you're going to engage are going to be a believer, right? But I'm just putting that question out there. Something as serious as this, people getting up, going to work every day, people just carrying on with their lives like regular, like normal, they're going on. And I guess that's all we can do, but you would think that there would be maybe a little bit more concern or dialogue about this. I don't know. Like to hear you guys' thoughts about it. Tell me what you think about it. That's all I got to say in this video, guys. The next time, as always, take care of yourselves and each other.